It's my pleasure to introduce my friend Gaurav Luthra, who is the director of Drishti Eye Institute. Also, he specialized in most of our eye surgery. You talk to him. His expertise in pediatric ophthalmology, expertise in keratoconus. I think he can do anything, most of the things in ophthalmology. Apart from his talent in the field of ophthalmology, he also uh, have got some of the positions in our field of in our branch. Like he's a chairman for ARC, IRSI. He's also president for Dehradun Ophthalmological Society, chairman of award committee, Uttarakhand Ophthalmic Society. We put that together as a member scientific committee, All India Ophthalmological Society, and also he's a member managing committee, All India Ophthalmological Society. The man who has done probably the highest number, few of the highest number in ICL, none other than Dr. Gaurav. We are eager to hear from him, and he'll be talking about Fakey Kyle implantation mishaps. Over to Gaurav.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Kudlu. I don't deserve all that, but I'm so grateful to be invited by the scientific committee of AIOS, Dr. Partha, and all the members. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. And I'll share my screen. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kudlu, for accommodating me, Dr. Partha, Dr. Somashila. I apologize for breaking order here because I have to leave for another webinar, and I hate doing this. But uh, I hope my screen is now visible. So, okay. So, first of all, I would like to say that while phakic IOLs, I've been doing them for almost 15 years now, and they are amazing. They are very safe to do. So please don't go back with the message thinking that lots of complications. But as they say, if a surgeon does surgery, he's bound to. If you drive a car on the road, you are bound to scratch it somewhere. So it always helps to learn how not to scratch it, and it always helps to know how you can preempt complications. I hope I'm audible clearly, Partha.
Very
Yes,
good.
yes, Gaurav.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
absolutely.
Thank you. So I'll quickly run through 3, 4 of the common mistakes that we might make, which I've learned myself the hard way over the years. And this is one of the first things which I learned. Uh, while we are all now trained to do wound-assisted injections through small incisions, we've been going smaller and smaller with the 2.2 millimeter incisions. However, with ICLs, it is very, very important not to attempt wound-assisted injections at all. Sometimes you are going through a cataract list and you suddenly have a ICL patient, and subconsciously you just go ahead with a wound assisted injection. Now it's very important to have the right sized incision. Many times your assistant will forget and give you the smaller blade, but we have separate blades in different sets for the ICL. It's best to use, I use a 2.8, but it's good to start with 3.5 and maybe subsequently graduate to 3 or 2.8. For me now 2.8 works well. It's important to get the tip of the cartridge inside the inner lip of the wound. If you don't have that, your ICL may get stuck, or you may have an aborted injection and the ICL may open up outside. This is what can happen sometimes. And uh, this shows another instance where we were trying to inject the ICL. Of course, the loading is straightforward. Now here again, we were trying to inject. Counter pressure with the left hand is very, very important, and making sure that sometimes if the patient moves under topical anesthesia, your tip may get disengaged from the incision. So you have to use counter pressure very nicely. So this was another very old video which I pulled out where the ICL got stuck and we were in a bit of a situation. And it's always tough because these ICLs are very thin. So, trying to get it out or get it in with a forceps can end up damaging the ICL. Here we were attempting to push it in and then see if it gets damaged, then we could, probably remove it. But with lot of patience and over almost 10 minutes, we managed to get this ICL, into the eye, and luckily we could retain it. But you are not always lucky, and sometimes the ICL will get damaged and you may have to then explant it. And avoiding this situation is the best. So, no wound assisted injections is the take home message from these two slides. Now, ICLs, as I said, we can always do better with slightly bigger incisions. And sometimes these incisions, once you push the ICL in, unlike the small 2.2 incisions, the 3 incisions can occasionally be leaky. 99.9% they are not. But it always makes sense to check. And if they are leaky and you don't want to suture them because you don't want to induce astigmatism, you can quickly do this supraincisional pocket, which I love to do with my pediatric cataracts and some of these leaky incisions. So rather than struggling in trying to seal the wound, you can just make a small pocket just above your main incision and see that my infusion is on with the left hand, and yet there is no leak. It takes just few seconds and it works almost every time. So I think this is another thing which I sometimes end up using if I have a leaky tunnel, which is very rare with ICLs. So again, not the take home message that ICL tunnels will leak. Now, coming to another situation where sometimes you will have ICL which will try to open up upside down, so you can try your best, because if you watch the holes on the ICL and you're careful with your injection, this does not happen. But sometimes if you, while loading, you've not been careful and the ICL twisted inside the cartridge and you didn't watch for the 3 holes to be aligned in the cartridge, you may get this situation where the ICL can twist while being injected, and then you can always just pull it out of the incision like that, and you can, again implant that ICL, carefully. Now you'll see here that I'm doing a special wound assisted. I mean, I'm doing my cartridge tip is well inside, and I'm just making sure that it opens up the right side now. And then, of course, it should not be difficult. Once bitten, twice shy. I got this patient referred, another situation, and patient had an ICL done elsewhere with both eyes. And one eye, of course, was doing well. The second eye looked like this. I was suspicious of what's going on. I looked like that. There was a big PI, and it had been operated by another colleague. And this is how the OCT looks. Obviously, you can make out that this ICL has been implanted upside down. And it obviously has to be explanted as soon as possible. So I told the patient that you need an explant. However, the patient went back and the surgeon said, no, your ICL is fine. And, he was not ready to explant it. I almost had half a mind to call him up and tell him that please do it. Otherwise, I'll do it myself. However, the patient came back after a week saying that I've got my ICL explanted. But this is what it looked like. The capsule was ruptured in the middle and there was a big ring-shaped, fibrotic anterior capsule. So, we had to then, of course, go ahead with the cataract surgery, and, it becomes a complicated situation. So best thing is to be sure to watch the vault on day one. We do an OCT, anti-segment OCT for all our patients on day one post-op. Obviously, you can see it on the slit lamp. You don't have to do an OCT to see that. And be very, very sure, just like in the previous talk we heard and we'll hear in the talks ahead, to watch for the vault of the ICL. Ever since we have a central hole, it's become very rare to get, cataract. So even, these holes will prevent cataract formation in 90% of the cases, even if you have a low vault. But in upside down ICL is a total contraindication. Coming to my last case for today, there was this patient who was a 25-year-old male with these bars, and he had a cornea which was not very good for. We are using a lot of low-powered ICLs now, and I love to do ICLs now whenever the cornea is even borderline suspicious. So we went ahead with the first eye of this patient, and after that, it was an uneventful surgery completely. And after we managed to do the first eye well, when we went with the second eye, again an uneventful surgery, but on post-op day one for the second eye, which was done under topical anesthesia, the patient presented with severe pain in the morning. He was operated the previous evening at about 7 or 8 o'clock under topical anesthesia, totally uneventful surgery. And he called up at midnight. He was from an adjoining town, so he could not present to the hospital at night when he got pain. He had been given Diamox post-op, and the routine regimen and everything had been done, the way I have been doing for so many years. But he came with severe pain, and it was almost like a panophthalmitis kind of a situation. Of course, his vision was 6/9, but his pressure was 70 millimeters, and there was diffuse 360 degrees, retrobulbar hemorrhage kind of a situation. And there was significant proptosis, and you can see the lid, how it was looking. He had had 6 or 7 episodes of forceful vomiting the previous night. Now, in my whole career, where I would have probably done not as many as Dr. Kudlu thinks, but maybe about 500-600 ICLs or a little more than that, I've never seen anything like this. And moreover, with topical anesthesia, we were not expecting. The first eye had been uneventful. So when we looked at him on the OCT, the vault was 568, as you can see here, but you can also see in the anterior chamber, some kind of inflammatory debris is visible. And we immediately managed him with mannitol, but it didn't help. He got 2 tablets of Diamoxstat, and he was started on topical medication. After a couple of hours, when nothing was helping, we did a burp of the AC, hoping that, maybe if it is because of some viscoelastic residue. I went back and looked at my video. We record all surgeries. So I went back and looked at my video. The video surgery had been done exactly the same way as I would do everything, every patient. We had done a meticulous removal of the viscoelastic. So we ruled out that there should be anything over there. I was not in a rush for this surgery. On day 2, after the burp, the pressure had obviously come down to about 30. And we were hoping that we'll medically manage the patient. But on day 2, patient came back with a fall in vision, 636. There was a small epithelial defect with corneal edema. Pressure was still 60. And he was again administered mannitol. And, Diamox was now being continued since the previous day. But nothing seemed to be helping. So we decided, once, watched him through the day, and, we took him up for surgery, just hoping to either remove the ICL or find a way of, sorting this. So this is what the surgery was. I've purposely not shown you the first surgery, but this is the way the surgery was. We managed to go in and do a good AC wash. the pupil the iris had become floppy, and there was a little bit of fibrinous thing in the anterior segment, but otherwise it was clear. We repositioned the ICL a little bit. I tried to kind of move it and see if the foot plates were stuck or if there was anything else which was causing a problem. I'm just kind of queuing this video because I couldn't find the edited version just at the last moment. But we just went with, and then we stroked the iris and we tried to kind of go to the root of the iris and make sure that there is no, iris is not caught anywhere. We used intracameral pilocarpine to try and constrict the pupil. You can see that the iris is quite floppy there. And then after all attempts at, doing everything, we decided to retain the ICL for this time and made sure that the wound is sealed nicely. Now, post-op day one, this is how it looked. The vault had become a little lower, but the pupil was dilated, as you can obviously see over there. But the pressures had started to settle down, and the vault had now fallen to just about 263, and post-op at 1 week. And however, at 3 weeks, his vault came so far down, and we don't know why this happened, because the fellow eye continued to have the same sizing, same everything, and the vault remained absolutely fine. He recovered 6/9 vision, 6/18 unaided, and 6/9 with pinhole at this point. And so the change we've made in our surgery, and I'll just finish with this. We now do a hydroimplantation for all our ICL. This case is about 1 year back. So we do all the steps the same way as we would. But now we've started doing hydroimplantation in all our patients. You can see here we hold the left hand has the infusion, and the ICL is injected with no viscoelastic use is used at any point. It's made a tremendous difference to our surgical results. Patients are very, very comfortable, no post-op pain, no instances of patients complaining about our vaults are much, much more steady. They don't change much over a period of time. We don't see any inflammation. Post-op day one patients are absolutely healthy and fine. And positioning the foot plate and everything is also quite predictable. Now, I will not suggest that any beginner surgeon attempts this at all. But if you have an experience of, say, about 100 odd ICLs and you want to try this, you can, once you are very, very fluent with doing it under viscoelastic, because you have a clear lens right there. You don't want any complications or mishaps happening. But we have done now about 150 eyes with the hydroimplantation technique and found it very useful. So with that, I'll finish here and stop sharing my screen.